Welcome back, everybody. In this lesson, we're going to go over strings in Python. Okay. Before that, let's talk about what a collection is. Okay. So collection in Python has smaller pieces of data inside. We already learned about sequences. They are also collections. And not only sequences, we have sets and dictionaries we have as collections in Python. Okay. So they are actually built-in types, and we commonly call them altogether collections. Depending on the need, we can treat them as a single unit or as elements inside. We can use the length function, len function, to get the length as well. So let's talk about strings in depth. Okay, so a string is a sequential collection of characters. So the elements inside are all equal type, which are characters, which are strings again in strings in Python. So characters are ordered in left to right, basically following English. So the way we write English, the same way Python creates a string as well. And there are a variety of ways of creating strings. One is we can actually create a string literal using single quotation mark or double quotation marks or triple single quotation mark or triple double quotation mark. Okay. And here are some examples. Okay. So we have to use two single quotation or two double quotation or two sets of three double quotation or single quotation to create an empty string. Okay. So simply use them. You can also use str function, string function. Okay. So it's a built-in function and you can pass a number or anything that is possible into string function and then convert it to a string. Okay. So for example, if you pass number 2, you can create the string 2. Okay. And likewise. Okay. So let's check this out now. Okay. So all right. So let's move on. We already talked about these topics. I'm going to quickly go over these. So we can concatenate two string from one to the other. Okay. So it makes sense to join two strings together. That's the reason. Okay. So we can use the addition mark, summation operation. So for example, if we have 20 and 21 like this, 20 plus 21 would give 2021, not 41. Okay, it's not integer addition. And same way, Python code give you one string Python code. Okay. However, you cannot mix and match types. Okay, so right, this operation will give you a type error. So that is indicating that Python checks the type and then if the types agree, perform the operation. Okay, so we call such a language strongly typed language. So basically type check is built into the language. Okay, so program doesn't compile if the type don't agree. So such language are called strongly typed. It's one language is Python. But if you run this in JavaScript basically infer this operation. We have the first string. So Java converts this, JavaScript convert to this to a string and combine them. Okay. So we call such a language weakly typed language. Okay. All right. So let's check this out in JavaScript. So I'm going to run JavaScript in this tool. We call it JSPiddle. Okay. So in JavaScript, to print anything to the console, we use console.log. Okay. And you can simply check out the value we have. Okay. So it's the string 20 plus 21. Okay. And we need to end it colon. And let's run this. Okay. So we got 2021. Okay. So that is to indicate JavaScript does that, but Python doesn't. Okay. So let's go back to our slides. Okay. So let's check this out now in Python. Okay. So I have set up, arrange my code. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this and run it. Okay. So let's do this as well for Python. This is to save time. Okay. And if we run this, and we'll get an error. Okay. So, all right. So let's run this one. All right. So we got the error part, but let's go back to the top. Okay. So we got the answer to this one. Okay. 20 and 21. We got the string. So Python doesn't show you it as a string, especially PyCharm doesn't show it as a string, but this is a string. Okay. And this one too. Okay. All right. So for the last one, we got this error. It's a type error. Okay. Can only concatenate string type. It's not integers. Okay. So let's just block that part of the code. Okay. Let's go back to our presentation. Okay. All right. So let's continue. So we also learned repetition as a common sequence language, sequence operation. So it's basically given one string, how do we repeat it many times? For example, we have hello now. How do we get a string of like hello, hello? Okay. So this is called repetition. In the previous example, it was repetition by 2. Okay. So we use multiplication operator for that purpose. Okay. Both concatenation and repetition return new strings. Okay. So let's check this out now. Okay. So we have this. I'm going to go over here, slides 5. Check this out. Okay. Okay. So, and run it. Okay. So I got this one. Okay. Hello times 2 gives me this one. Okay. All right. So let's continue. Okay. So So index operation, index operator. So basically we use the square bracket to access. We learned that in under sequence as well. So there are two ways of indexing, from left to right, which is the general one, or right to left. Left to right, it is starting from 0 towards the one less than end of the string. Right to left, starting from -1 to negative length of the string. Okay. Left to right start from -1. Okay. So let's check this out as well. So for example, Python 0, Python is my string. So 0 is the index, which is P right here. So Python 0 returns just the P, letter P. Python's length -1, length is 6. So -6, -1 is N, -2 likewise, -6 is P. So that also returns P. Okay, so let's check this out. Slide number 6. So we first have this, and then we have this. On it. Okay, so we have letter P. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Slicing, we already learned that as well. Let's quickly go through it. Okay, so basically slice of a string is again a string. We call it a substring. Okay, and the syntax is we have a string and we start, and then there's a stop and there's a step value. Okay, start is inclusive, stop is exclusive. Basically, it stops one item before, one index before stop. Okay, so step is the stepping number. So if you have this, and this returns HON. Okay, so we start from 3. So P is 0 and Y is 1, P is 2, H is 3. So start from 3. So and then we all the way go up to 6. HON. Okay, and the step value is 1. Okay, so this return HON. Okay, and the default, there are a set of defaults. So start default value for start is 0. Stop default value is length. Step default value is 1. So if we try like this, so that means we have the start is 3 and both stop and step value are default values. Okay, that's why we don't have values. Okay, and it return HON. You can also completely neglect the step value as well. That basically says, okay, the default is 1. Okay, so that's the single column means. Okay, so let's try this out. So slide number 7. So we have this. Okay, and then we try this. Okay, and we try this. Okay, run it. Okay, so slide number 7, we got THO. Okay, HON and HON. Okay, so I think I made a mistake here. Let me check. Okay, so yeah, I said HON. I think it should be, yeah, it should be, I'll correct that. It should be THO. Okay, all right. So the rest of 2 are correct. Okay, so let's go back to our lesson. Okay. All right. So slicing also works with negative indexing, and we saw that with sequences. So if we use the negative indexing, then we get on. So we start with -2. So n is -1, O is -2. And notice the both stop and step value have default. So they are positive. So we still go left to right. So I'll get on. Okay. All right. So step can be negative as well. At that, basically, when that is the case, we go from right to left. Okay. So in this case, we start from -2, which is O, inclusive, and -6, that means P. Okay. So, and -1 means we go from this way. Okay. So we start from O, H, T, Y. And the end is, the stop is exclusive. So that means we stop at Y. Okay. All right. So what if we use the defaults and use negative indexing? Okay. So basically, if we try like this, okay, and it's basically the reverse string. Okay. So we start with N and we go this way. Okay. And we get the reverse string. Okay. So it's a efficient and a simple way to reverse a string. And like we learned with list and then broadly with sequencing, slicing is forgiving. Okay, if you make a mistake, Python try to do whatever it can. Okay, so if it is not possible, it will return an empty list. Okay, so for example, this one, there's no 7 index 7, there's no character here. We only have 6 characters here. So this will return empty. Okay, so let's check this out. So slide 8. Okay, so we had this first. Oops, should be a quotation mark. All right, and then this one. I did this because need to save time. Otherwise, the video is going to be unnecessarily long. Okay. All right. So let's run them all. Okay. So we got right this one on, and this one OHTY, and this is reverse, and this is empty. Okay. All right. Moving on. String immutable. We learned that strings are an immutable type of object in our sequence lesson. Okay, so strings are immutable. That means once you create, you are not allowed to change. Okay, change it. Okay, so if you try to submit, like reassign a value to a character of a string, it'll return a type error. Okay, and a type error. So that's actually the test form mutability test for strings. Okay, so we can also reassign a new value to the same variable. So for example, we had code earlier. So I now have code and I am reassigning this. This is not a mutability set. This is possible. Okay. And don't consider this as a change or mutation. No, this is just a reassignment. You are creating a brand new variable somewhere else in the memory. So what happening to this value code? Well, eventually garbage collector, Python has a garbage collector and it'll delete that value and reclaim the memory. Okay. So this is reassignment, and that is not a mutability test. Okay. All right. So why strings are immutable? Okay. So there are a lot of benefits to that. Okay. So we know that we deal with text-based password and usernames. Okay. So if we make strings prone to change, someone who get access to, say someone gets illegal access, and they can now change this thing password for, for theft or for sabotage purposes, right? So by making strings immutable, we can get some amount of security. We can enhance the security. Just a security um, benefits to that. Okay, and when we make an object immutable, then we easily we can create copy via reference, not just whole copies. We can use the references to make copies. Okay, so that way we basically we can save memory through references. Okay, so those are and also making strings immutable, and that way we can use a string as a dictionary key as well. We're going to learn about dictionaries next week, so we'll be we'll see examples that we can use strings as dictionary keys. Okay, all right. So how do we check two strings for equality? We can use the is operator. Okay, so let's check this. So slide 9. Okay, so we have, okay, so we have code variable. So let's check code 10. Okay, sorry, code 0th index. Okay, all right. So what we are going to do is we're going to try to change it to, let's say, mode. I think that's what we had, right? Okay, so, all right. So let's try to run this code over here. Okay, so I made a mistake over here. So let's correct that. And we don't need to print, to just reassign 0. Okay, all right. So you're trying to do this, so mode. Okay, all right. So run this. Okay, so got this error, type error. String object does not support item assignment. Okay, so let's block this one. All right. Now we can check two strings for equality. Okay, so I'm creating one. Okay, so and in here I'm also creating one. Okay, so I'm going to print first the ID. Okay, so then I'm going to make them equal, and then sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to first do is I'm going to create code and then print the ID. Then I'm going to create two variables, again referring to code, and we're going to check the ID value. Okay, so that's the whole idea. So I'm going to print this over here. Okay. All right, so let's run it. Okay, so we have slide 9. Okay, So okay, all right. So I think I didn't print the ID values. Let me go ahead and print it. Right, ID code. So it's the identity function. Okay, and then on it again. Okay, so I have this as the identity function. Okay, all right, and then I checked the ID of. Okay, so all right, so this is this should be. Let's see what happened over here. I printed the ID values. All right, so I created two strings over here, and then I make them. I basically compared their ID values, and they are equals, and that's why I got true. Okay, all right, and over here I'm printing the ID value of code. Okay, and initially it's just code, and I have the different ID value. Okay, it's right here. And next one, I reassign the string to a different one. So I have a different ID. Okay. So that's why I printed both. Okay. So that is to show that it's just a reassignment. So we have a different object in a different place of the memory. Okay. All right, let's continue. All right. Membership. Okay. We can use the two membership operators, in and not in, to check whether an element is in the string or not. Okay. So this is also valid for a substring. Okay, not only just characters, substring also. So for example, you can check on, which is right here, is in Python, and this should return true. Okay, all right, and not in, if it is in there, and not to return false. Okay, all right. So let's check this one too. Okay. Okay, so slide 10. So we're going to use this. So I'm simply checking whether the substring on is in the Python, string Python. Okay. All right. I'm expecting true here and false here. So let's run. All right. So I got true. I got false. Okay. Let's continue. Iteration. Okay. We learned that we can iterate a sequence. That means a strings too. Okay. So we can iterate item by item. For a string, it's character by character then. Okay. So using for loop again. So this is the syntax. And here's a simple example. Okay. So let us now try this example. Okay. So I'm gonna grab this and slide number 11. Okay. So go here, copy paste that. Okay. So to make sure. All right, there you go. All right, so for letters in Python. So this is my way of writing expressive variables. So we are accessing letters. So we're gonna go letters one by one. So for letters in Python, let's print letters. Okay, let's check this out real quick. Okay, and I got it printed. Okay, Python. So let's make it end equals, so that right? This, and I'm gonna run it again. Okay, so I have this. All right, this one. Okay, right here. So go back. So not only that, you can actually access letters index by index. For that, we use a range, okay? Because range deal with integers, okay? So we use a range as a way to obtain those indexes, okay? So we call it index by index iteration, okay? So let's check this out. All right, run it. I'm going to do this again here too. N equals, all right, so run, okay. So I have right here Python. So if I put a just print something just empty there, I'll get to the next line. Okay. All right. Okay. So see, oh, I should have done this. Okay. Should be outside of the for loop. Okay. All right. So I have this. Okay. So this is we got this from index by index iteration, this from item by item iteration, or element by element iteration. All right. So let's go back to our lesson. Okay. Okay. So while loop, we learned it in with sequences as well. So simply we have a Boolean expression while, and then we do something. So we do something either relevant to our sequence that depending on the problem. Okay. Usually we need to find a Boolean expression that works with the iteration we want with the sequence string in this case. Okay, so for example, in this case, this is our variable, that's our string Python. So we can use the position as a way to check all the letters. Okay, so we can increment as we iterate, we can increment that letter by one, and then we can use the string index to access each letter. Okay, so let's check this out as well. Okay, so I have this and slide 12. Okay, okay, all right. Okay, so I basically, all right, so there you go. So position, all right. So yeah, so let's see what is this error. Oh, right here, this is the one. Okay, so there you go. So we have this variable, we sort of like this is a helper variable to figure out when is our Boolean expression going to evaluate to false. Okay, so that's the condition in the while loop. In this case, we can simply check the position against the length. Okay, and then as we iterate, we can increment that length. At one point, it's gonna cross the length boundary, at which point this whole expression going to evaluate to false, and Python exit the loop. Okay, so let's run this. Let me just put the end over here again. Equals, come on, okay. Let's run it now. Okay, we are in slide 12. So we have this, okay. We can also use while loop. Let's go back. All right. So, okay. String operations. This is really important. So Python provide a plethora of string operations by default to the user. Okay. Through the string class basically. Okay. Let's check it out. Okay. And if you check that link out, you can see string methods right here. And you can see there's a number of methods available for you to use. Okay. And find, encode, count, center. There are many of them. Okay. So whenever you have a problem to solve, if there's no restriction not to use, please check one of these. Okay. So don't try to reinvent the wheel. All right. So let's check few of those. Split method, really useful in text analysis. Okay. So basically take a string and take a delimiter and split this string and return a list of pieces broken according to this delimiter. Okay. So the default delimiter is actually the space. So basically you can separate a sentence of a word sentence into words using split method. Okay. The other one is format method. Okay. So in format method, basically you can replace the strings values you pass into the format method, and you can create a new string out of those value passed. Okay. So for example, over here, so these values are indexed. Okay. 0, 1, 2. Okay. And this is the these are the arguments. So this star means Python will take as many we supply. Okay. And then create a tuple out of it. Okay. So star means you can have as many you want. Okay. And all those values will be index, will consider as index to replace these values. Okay. So that's why we get, when we do this, okay, we get CS1 because we pass 1 over here, and 3, we pass 3 over here, and then 1 again. We pass 1 over here. Okay. So the order of those parameters is given in the curly, inside this curly bracket, 0, 1, 2. Okay. And right here, we call these keyword arguments. So these are simply arguments. This is keyword arguments. Okay. And these two stars indicate basically these keywords. Python will take it as a key value pairs. Okay. And you can list as many as you want when you define your function. Okay. So in this case, my keyword is py, and when I pass py, okay, so Python will take the value when I pass. Okay, so I think, yeah, so I made a mistake over here. This should be 0, 0, 1. Yeah, okay, so I have it over here. Okay, so let's check this out now. Okay, so let's split this one, for example. Okay, so we're gonna split this string Python code example based on the space. Okay, all right, and here I'm going to split this, the same string, based on the underscore. Okay, and I'm printing that. So, and let's check these two out for now. Okay. So it's slide 13. Okay. So I have, so if I split this string based on the default separator, which is default delimiter, which is space, I get 2 words out of it. And it split returns a list of words. That's why we have 2 square brackets. We're going to learn list pretty soon. So we have Python and code examples. If I use the underscore as the delimiter, Python going to split it right here. So I get Python code and examples. Okay. So let's check this out too. The next one, the string formatting. Yeah, so I have the correct value over here. Okay, so I should have put, let me just correct that so that doesn't mislead anyone. Okay, so equals 001. Okay, all right. So let's go back to our code. So I'm going to now copy this. So this is my call to format. Okay, it's really useful function string formatting. Okay, so I'm gonna print that call over here. Okay, all right. So here's to explain again. So I put this numeric values in order within curly brackets. Okay, and then I pass the values in the way that I wanted to substitute into these values. Okay, so I want 131, right? So be over here. So I first pass 1 and then 3 and then 1. Okay, so this curly bracket basically plays like a placeholders for those values coming in. And then here I'm also using keyword argument. So my keyword is py, and here I'm passing the keyword and the value. Okay, so this is the key and this is the value, and that's why I said earlier it's a dictionary key value pair. Okay, so let's run this now. Okay, so okay, so it's like 13. Okay, so we have it. Let me just go full screen, and we have the string that I wanted. Okay, CS131B section 001, which is this class. Okay, all right. So let's continue our lesson. Okay, excuse me. All right. So okay, so we go over here. All right, indexing. Sorry, it's numeric. It's basically check whether the given string is completely filled with numbers or otherwise. Okay. All right. So we can check that out as well. So let's say, okay. So let me go to the top. Okay. So right here. So let's call this. So I expect false, right? This is not a number. Okay. It's only part is a number. And here, even though it's a string, there's only numbers in there. So I'm expecting true over here. And notice how Python designed this true false Boolean returning functions. They also start with is usually. Okay. So run it again. Number 14, it's number 13. So this is not true. It's not a numeric string. So I got false. And this is a numeric string. This is a numeric string. So I got true. All right, so let's continue. So please don't try to re-implement these functions. Okay, use them whenever possible. Okay, so go back there, check that link, and then use it. Okay. All right. So Python also provides a string dedicated string module. Okay. So let's see what are the things available from string module. Okay. Some of them are actually attributes, values, okay, or constants, you can say. Okay. So one is this. Okay. Let's say we want a string to represent all the digits. Okay. So we have this value in the string module. So this is the module name, and we have this attribute called digits, and this is the value. The other one, very useful one, is ASCII two lowercase letters and returns that set. Okay, so let's check those out as well. Slide 14. So for that, before we do anything, I need to import the string module, right? So import. Okay, so string, and then we go down and call these values. Okay, just simply print there. All right, so oops. All right, so let's run. Okay, so I have this, I have this. So I got the digits and I got the ASCII lowercase letters. Okay. All right. So let's continue. So these are valuable in coding. Let's say you want to check for this set of numbers in your code, right? So you can simply access that set of numbers using string module. Okay. And same with lowercase ASCII letters or alphabet. Okay, so we'll see some examples later on. All right, so go back to our lesson. Comparison. So how do we compare two strings? Okay, so we can use the equality operator. Okay, we can simply use, if it is equality check, we can simply use equality operator. For example, if you want to compare an apple and banana, this returns false. And apples, it returns true. Okay, so let's check that. Okay, so I'm going to write it here. I'm expecting false, and I'm expecting here that's true. Okay, so let's run this. So slides 15. So it is false. Well, it's not equal to bananas, right? False. And apple equals to apple is true. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so how about other comparisons? Because we have other set of two relational operators, few relational operators too, like greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal, right? So for example, if I try this content and content, I'll get true. So the reason is this. Now, comparisons are straightforward when they are numbers, more specifically when they are integers. Okay. But how do we make a comparison of two bunch of characters? There has to be a convention, right? So in programming, particularly, throughout programming. So in Python also it is the case, we use lexicographical order. Okay, let's see what is this lexicographical order. Okay, so Python basically Python encode characters into integers using Unicode encoding scheme. Okay, so I encourage you guys to check out these two links. Okay, so encoding means you have a convention and you have set of things that you need a different way of representation. That's encoding. So in this case, we have a set of characters. We need a respective number for that. So we come up with a standard or a convention, right? So that's we call encoding. Okay. So in this case, if we can assign a unique number to each unique character, then instead of comparing these two characters, we can compare the two respective numbers and make addition there. So that's the whole idea of encoding. Okay. So to get that number, Unicode integer value, Python use ORD function. Okay. So basically we use ORD and we pass the character, English character, or any other language because Unicode has a variety of coverage. Okay. And we get the Unicode value. And you can use that number to compare the two characters. For example, big letter A has 65 and small letter A is 97. So if we try to compare big letter A and small letter A, you will see that small letter A is greater than big letter A. Okay. All right. So how Python compare two strings then? It goes character by character. Okay. One by one. And then when it meets two not matching characters, then Python takes a decision at that point. Because up to that moment, all the characters are equal. Now it finds two different characters, and then Python make a decision there whether to return true or false. Okay. All right. So let's check this out. So this is 16. I'm going to first try this as well in 15. We have this. So let's try. Okay. So we have, it's true. Okay. Because if we put this side by side up to content, both strings has same set of characters. But when you take T and D, and the ordinary value of T is higher than that of D, so we get true because we are comparing which one is the bigger, right? So let's go to 16. Okay, so let's print these two first. Okay, so I'm expecting 65 over here and 97 over here. Okay. All right. And then we're going to print this again and we're going to check. We're going to verify basically. Okay. So let me just print that one too. And we are going to verify. So this is sort of the verification. Okay. This is why this is true. Okay. So let's check that. All right. So we have 65 for odd value or ORD value of A and 97 for ORD value of A is small a. Okay, so this should be equals actually. All right. So, and here these two, I'm comparing these two strings for which one is the highest. Content is the highest because this T, ORD value of T is higher than ORD value of T. So what Python does is Python basically compare each ORD value until it's see the two different values, at which point Python make the decision. Okay. All right. So go back to our lesson. So what if we have, let's say, two different string with two different lengths? Okay. So in that case, there has to be a strategy. Okay. So the strategy here is basically Python going to pad the smaller string with spaces until the length reach the length of the larger string. So now we have two similar strings and we can proceed the same process. Okay. And note that space has the smallest Unicode value among all printable characters. Space is the smallest. So now basically Python can compare, okay, so that's empty, so it's smaller. So, okay, so the larger string is the largest one. Okay, so that's how Python does comparison between two non-matching, two two uh, two different strings with two different lengths. Okay, all right. So for example, if we take contention and this returns true because we have I after common part and we don't have anything. So that means ORD of space is less than ORD of I. So we get true. Okay, so let's check that out. Okay, so I'm going to print this. I'm expecting true. Contention is greater than content. And this is the reason. Okay. All right. All right. There you go. So we got the answers. All right. All right, guys, that's our string lesson. I'll later on add different separate videos on solving a simple problem in strings.